I'm in downtown Vancouver right now picking up my Rolex Oyster Perpetual 36 back from service. Got my coffee from Tiari. And I'm ready to see my watch again. Let's go. Before I head down to Rolex, I want to first showcase Tiari. It is a cafe on Thurlow Street, which is the same street as Rolex and Tudor, just a 2-minute walk away. And it has an amazing selection of pastries, macarons, coffee, espresso, latte, cortados, you name it. Both Rolex and Tudor are on Thurlow Street in Butte, just right on the corner here. And before we head in, I want to check out the window first. I saw a couple Datejusts. I think they were 36 millimeters. They look like just your run-of-the-mill Datejust, no special palm dowel or brick pattern, things like that. And this is pretty interesting. You have your Explorer 2 white dial, and you have your Explorer 1 in 36 millimeters in both two-tone and stainless steel. And obviously, all of these are exhibition models. Just got out of Rolex, got my watch back, and also got a brand new magazine with the Platinum Daytona on it. Can't wait to go home to check it out. Let's inspect the goods from today. So this is the magazine that Rolex has generally given me, even though I have never purchased a watch from them before, which they would probably expect because they wouldn't let me. It is the 11th issue. I think I have the previous 3 dating back to 2019 or 2020, whenever my first visit to Rolex was, that I had the balls to ask for freebies, magazines and brochures and things like that. And this is the watch that I got back from service, the Oyster Perpetual 36, reference number 116000. I've actually sent this watch in for service twice already, so this makes it the 3rd time. And every time I get it back with this pouch, and it feels like I'm unboxing a brand new watch. So that's me trying to find the good in the bad, I guess. Quick wristwatch check before I get into it. I'm now wearing the Tudor Prince Chrono with the Tiger dial. And this is the reference number 79260. Absolutely gorgeous. I love how subtle but also rich that dial is. Kind of reminds me of the tonkotsu broth ramen I had for lunch today. Just a random association. But let's take this watch out and I'll talk a little bit about why I had to send it in for service. So about a month ago, I was winding this watch, and I would give it a full wind, about 25 to 28 winds, then wear it for about 2 days. This watch is using a caliber 3130, which has a power reserve of 48 hours. And I would wear it for 2 days and it would just stop. And I was like, what the hell? Like, am I not wearing, or am I not moving enough? Like, I understand sometimes I get up in the morning, I do all of my hygienics, brush my teeth, eat breakfast, drink coffee, whatever, put a watch on and then drive to office. And then I would just sit in front of a keyboard all day. And sometimes I get that, just out of me doing those things and then coming home, taking the watch off, it doesn't get enough of a wind. But I made sure to do some exercise. Like, I went to the gym with this watch, for Christ's sake. And it just, it would just die after 2 days after a full wind. So I took it to my ear. I did a bit of a Seiko shuffle like that. And I didn't hear anything, which was super weird. And because I have just one Rolex, I don't really have a good reference of how heavy the rotor is supposed to feel, or if I'm even supposed to feel anything or hear anything. Definitely it is a lot more quiet than if I was to, put this to my ear and go like this, because you can definitely feel it since it's a Valjoux movement. But to me, it was just weird because I just feel like the rotor was, as another YouTuber would say, a rooted wota, right? It was just completely rooted, wouldn't work, wouldn't do anything at all. So I had to take it into Rolex and I told them exactly that issue. They wrote up a claim check for me, which I have actually lost. I have no idea where I placed it. But they wrote it down, sent it in for service. And I'm very happy to say that I feel like this time they have completely overhauled it, which I don't think is what they did for the previous times. So the last 2 times before today, the reason why I sent it in for service was the crown was winding very weird back then. When I would wind it upright, it was fine. But if I wind it at any sort of angle, like if I wind it with the crown up, with the crown down, or even with the head up, it had this very weird sandy wind, which caused me to believe like, is there some sort of a dirt or gunk stuck in there, or even worse, like maybe some parts falling off and is colliding with the winding stem, which is terrible. So I sent it in, and every time for both of those two times when I got it back, they address the issue at a certain angle. So for example, like if I get it back, like, oh, okay, winding from this angle is fine, but then if I put the crown down, then the issue came back again. I was just like, okay, I have heard before that you're not supposed to be winding a watch all that much anyways. It kind of wears out the gear or whatever it is called. So I tried out winding it. I just sort of, gave it a full wind and then just wore it for like a week straight, and the rotor would power it properly. But then I ran into this issue of the rotor not working at all. And your watch can only be powered by one or two ways. It's either by a manual wind or by the perpetual rotor self-winding, which if neither of those works, then you're in a bit of a trouble. So I brought it this time, and the lady very kindly noted all this stuff down. And I think they overhauled it because the crown works just fine now. And also the rotor works fine as well. Hopefully I won't have to send this watch back anytime soon, because it is a Rolex with a workhorse movement, the caliber 3130, which back in its day already had the blue parachrome spring. This watch, just a bit of a fun fact, it was replaced by the colorful range of Oyster Perpetual in 2020. And that range of watches used the caliber 3230, which pretty much is the identical movement as the 3130, except that the power reserve on these new watches are now 72 hours instead of 48 hours. Everything else I'm pretty sure are identical performance-wise. Just on that note, I want to point out a quick difference in dial variation as well. First, you can see on the second markers, the 116000 has the numbers 10, 15, 20, 25, so on and so forth, while the newer ones, the 126000s, has just a black dot. Another difference to tell the old gen Oyster Perpetuals from their newer counterparts are the placement of the writing. Well, aside from the colorful colors themselves. I guess you'll only need this information for the black dial and the deep blue dial, because those two dials are the only two configurations that exist for both the 116000 and the 126000. But the placement of the letters on the Oyster Perpetual 36 previous generation are lower on the top and higher on the bottom. Basically, there's less space in the middle part here, while the newer ones are just ever so slightly more departed from each other. And the final difference between the two models is that the previous generation of Oyster Perpetuals has a slightly thicker case compared to the newer ones. The newer ones were a lot more slender, and I think it might be because they're trying to push the male audience towards the 41 instead, so they made the case more slender to make the 36 wear more elegant and to make the 41 wear more like the 39 back in the day. I've just flipped through this magazine, and if you are a Daytona lover, you definitely need to go to the boutique and pick one of these up. It features all the new Daytona with the new cool subdials and bezels, and I know there's a lot more difference to that, but those are the most notable ones to me. It has a whole section on them, super cool. And then it's got a couple more. It's got the day date with the emojis somewhere down here. It's got the new 1908 or the Chilean replacement. It's got the new Sky Dwellers. The mint blue dials, still kind of cool, but not sure if it's for me or if I'm ever gonna be able to get one anyways. Oh, it's also got the titanium Yachtmaster 42, which I love. And this part of the end is kind of cool to me. It's talking about guys who restore coral reefs for a living. Like, I never knew there was such a thing as coral reef farmers, but apparently they collect samples of corals from God knows where. They grow them, and try to re-inhabit dead coral reefs. I don't know. That feels like a pretty cool job, or at least a job that you would really enjoy while wearing a nice diver watch. That's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.